Yo, what's up guys? Main here with another video. So I want to update now that we've had this pullback that I was discussing on Bitcoin in Telegram, what is next? So I think it's time for this thing to get going if it's going to go. I've talked about this area, the price action I want to see out of here. Things are playing out as we kind of have expected. We had this break of the trend line. We got that initial pop to the upside. And then we came into resistance. And I posted on Telegram. I said, hey, this is resistance here. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a pullback. Sure enough, H12 sweep, right? Pulled back right into demand. And now we've put an H12 sweep on the bullish side. So I actually took this short. I posted about it in Telegram that we were going to pull back. I posted the short in the Haven, but this is not surprising here. This is kind of your standard H12, H1. So you have your H12 range. Just break it down for you guys, right? H12 range. There's your high. There's your low. There is your bearish order block. We expect this to be resistance, right? We're expecting at the least a pullback, if not a lower high, because the trend is down, right? This is resistance here. We talked about this being a key area along with the yearly open, which is like right here, that price had to reclaim. So when it comes up into resistance, puts it in H12 sweep, what do? You zoom in and you say, okay, is this weak? What would weakness look like on the low time frame? Well, it looks something like this. We have a range, took out the high of the range, closed back within. As soon as we start closing below the range low, I mean, you could start selling this retest here. That's exactly what I did. There's your market structure. There's your risk. And then I just targeted basically this gap fill, right? This is kind of like a market maker model, but down into these lows. So nice little trade there. Question is now what? Well, now we have a sweep on the bullish side, right? So potential here for a higher low. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this and this. Now we have, I'll leave this actually. Now we have a potential sweep on the downside here, right? There's your low that's gotten swept out. Oops, I don't know what I did there. On the low time frame, are we going to see some bullishness here? Well, what would that look like? I would need to see price break above here, right? If this was going to pump. It's the inverse of what I just showed you at the top. We'd be looking for that down here. I want to see price get above here, and then maybe we'll attack this zone again. You could probably enter here, stop down there. I assume this is probably a 2-to-1. Maybe not. Actually stops kind of wide, 1.5. It's an okay trade. It's an okay trade. Depends on your entry, but your stop's got to be below there if that's the setup. Now we're seeing a little H1 sweep here. Maybe, just maybe, this is going to take another dive down before it goes up here. Ultimately, I still think we're going to come and at the very least retest this trend line. Now, why? I'm going to delete all of this here. We'll go to the high time frame here. We've got a big gap here on the monthly that's formed, and we've started off the month bearish. So even if this is going to be a move down and like the top's already in, I wouldn't be surprised if we come and refill some of this gap, right? And then put in the lower high, right? If this is going to be a bearish month, if it's going to be a bullish month, maybe the low's in early, right? And then we'll consolidate and reclaim the monthly. I don't know yet. Still too early to tell. We also have this weekly fair value gap right here, right? We have that key level around 98K here. So lots of confluence, and then of course that downtrend line that I've been talking about for literally like a month plus now. Lots of confluence in this area here, at least for a back test. Whether or not this makes new highs from here, I think this is going to be the critical juncture. And I've talked about this in prior videos. It needs to get first above the yearly open, of course, but then it needs to get above 100, right? 98 to 100. We need to get above there if we want to trade here. And I've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, right? But it's worth repeating. It's level to level here, right? So I talked about above here, right? Above the yearly open, we can talk about 100. Well, we rejected there. We're now still in this range. We're still here. Break out of this range, then we can talk about this being our range, right? Break above here, then we can talk about this being our range. But that's the game we're playing right now. And at every level of resistance, like here, 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 we're going to look for what I just showed you here. Because if there's reasons for us to short, to be hesitant, to be cautious, we're going to take it because the prevailing trend is down. I do think if we're able to get above this 98K level and above this downtrend line here, that's going to give us the best odds at, a serious squeeze, maybe up into some of these highs here. But it's really got to get above here. It's going to be a very big test. And then maybe we can play into that weekly bearish order block, which is 106 up to, whatever. So again, the key levels, right? The key levels. I know you guys like me to call those out. We're at 86 right now. I'm not saying this is the low. It's put in a sweep. Maybe it's got another low here. But for now, we're assuming that this $80,000 low holds, and this is pulling for a higher low. That's what the bulls need. If we're able to reclaim the yearly open around 93K, then we're looking at 98 to 100. That's the most critical area on this chart, in my opinion, as it stands. Above 98, above 100, then we can talk, 105, 110, new all-time highs, but we're not going to put the cart ahead of the horse here, okay? One step at a time. Now, Bitcoin, I think, is pretty straightforward here. I think I already took the best trade set up so far this week. Why is my computer just glitching hella right now? What the hell is going on here? I don't like this. It just started going so slow, guys. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. But we're going to have to power through. We're too long into this to restart. So I think this was the most obvious trade so far, this H12. What is going on here? Hold on. What the fuck is going on? My shit is jacked up right now, boys. I'm sorry. Encoding overloading. What the fuck does that even mean? I don't know what that means. Okay, it's slightly better. We're just gonna have to fuck it. We're doing live. I gotta get through this because I gotta go to bed. So I think this was the highest probability setup here so far. Could we put in an H12 setup here, H12, H1 on the long side? Yes, I showed you how you'd get in that. We'd go down to the hourly. We would need to see the structure break. But for now, this was an extremely high odds setup because we had the bearish range and the sweep at resistance. This is not as high quality of a setup, so I'm not personally going to take it. But if it does print, right, if we do get the H1 break, I've given you the setup here, right? Break above this red line, you can long a pullback, stop below there, target there. That's the trade if you want it. Otherwise, I'm going to wait and sit for either a move above the yearly open, right? We'll put the yearly open on for now. Above the yearly open, or on another move below here, and then maybe an H12 sweep, a bit of a deeper dig. But for now, I'm going to chill. I'm happy with that trade so far. Now, we see a lot of people talking about, oh my God, the yen carry trade, unwind, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I talked about stocks last week. I said I'm very happy with this close through here. I think another move up is totally fine. Or is expected here, excuse me, into the 7,000s. We had the entirety of the internet, crypto Twitter, shitting their pants on this pullback. Max fear, right? We're down 6%. Now we've pumped straight off the lows, back up 5-6%, and we pull back a little bit, we sneeze a little bit, everyone starts crying. So this pulling back here, I don't think is weird at all. We had basically a 5 straight day rally last week. So a bit of a pullback here before the next leg up is not crazy. This next leg up, Bitcoin's got to go with it. And my biggest concern right now is how far Bitcoin has pulled back makes the likelihood of, even if stocks go to 77,000, 7,100, 7,200, I'm talking about the S&P 500 specifically, like Bitcoin has been weak and lagging and it's already so far off the high. For this to make a new all-time high, it's almost a 50% move. I'm not saying it's not possible, but that's why my lower high weighting, right, is 65, 70%, all-time high, very low odds at this point, in my opinion. Got to get above here first, coupled with stocks getting that one more leg. But a bit of a pullback on stocks is not crazy. A bit of a pullback on Bitcoin is not crazy either. We pumped, what, 16%, and now we're pulling back 7%, okay? So as long as this low holds, we're okay here. Could this make a new low? In theory, yes, but I would rather we don't. It's possible, right? Anything's possible. We have this 80K low, and then we have this low down here. We could run either of these lows, but if this is gonna go up, like the title of the video, it's time. I think it needs to happen sooner than later. It's December. We're getting into the end of the year here. So let's wait and see what happens. It's only Monday, still lots of time. We had US dollar. This was our pump here last week. Well, this is our dump. We need this to be a lower high. Just like we want Bitcoin to be a higher low, I want this to be a lower high, right? On the US dominance here. Same thing here on USDT plus USDC. Bitcoin dominance pushing up a little bit. Total retesting the trend line. Still ideally a higher low across the board here, guys. DXY. I like how this is starting to shape up. This to me is looking like it's failing here at the range lows. So this rolling over again would be best case scenario, I think, for crypto and for risk. It's just a matter of how high can we go. If stocks can get one more leg here, can crypto get to 110? Can it get to all-time high? I don't know, but I think this is pretty high odds that this has one more leg in it, which means I think there's a little bit more juice left to squeeze, at least in the Bitcoin trade. Silver new all-time highs, gold pushing back up here, right? Last thing I see a bunch of people talking about now is the yen carry trade. So how can I say this in retard terms, okay? The yen, right? So we can look at the Nikkei here, and I posted a little chart or a couple of charts that you can watch, right? So you can watch the Nikkei, you can watch Japanese yields, you can watch SoftBank, you can watch USD/JPY. So the yen carry trade for retards here, for layman's, okay? So basically you have Japan, and they have very low, okay, interest rates, extremely low interest rates historically. So what will happen is people, entities, corporations, right? They will borrow. So SoftBank is basically an institutional yen carry trade. So let's just assume SoftBank is the person we're describing here, which is the other side of this yen carry trade. Okay. So what SoftBank will do is they will borrow from Japan because the rates are so low, right? So they're going to borrow JPY from Japan at really, really low rates, okay? Then they're going to convert this into USD. And then they're going to take this USD and they're going to invest it in the market, oftentimes into risk assets, into tech stocks, into American, right, US risk. Sometimes US bonds too, right? But effectively here, it's kind of like arbitrage would be an easy way to explain it. Because if I can borrow here at fucking, 0. X percent, and then I can take this money over here, right? And I can invest it at something that's going to return me 5%, 7%. Fuck, even bonds are returning more than this. It's basically arbitrage, right? Again, this is extreme layman's terms here, right? So this is effectively the yen, that's the JPY carry trade, in a very basic explanation here. And so SoftBank does this trade. They borrow yen at low rates, convert it to USD, they get levered up, they buy US risk bonds, etc. So when this trade unwinds, right, what you're going to see is the Japanese stock market, the Nikkei, it's rolling over. Why is it rolling over? Well, part and parcel of that is they're raising rates, right? So we've seen the Japanese rates, right, go up. You saw, I'm sure, a bunch of these tweets today. I'm sure you saw a bunch of these tweets today about the Japanese bonds. Is this a good one? No. Japan bond. I don't know the fucking ticker. Right? This is for the first time in people saying like forever. Let's look at the 30-year. No. Maybe, what was it? The 2-year? What were people looking at bitching? Yeah, it's the 2-year. Okay, so people are saying, oh my God, this is the highest Japanese bonds have been, right? Since 2008, the last time the yen carry trade fucking exploded, right? And you can look at stuff like the VIX and you can say, okay, well, the VIX to me isn't really screaming anything yet. So I think some people are a little early on this yen carry trade. I digress. What you're going to see though is if this is blowing up, okay? If this is blowing up, well, how does this blow up? These rates rise. All of a sudden, SoftBank or whoever's the other side of this, they are going to need to sell their risk, right? They're going to need to sell their bonds, whatever they're holding. Ultimately, they're going to need to sell their USD because they've got to pay back a loan in yen at now a higher rate, right? So this happens, the Nikkei goes down, right? Nikkei goes down, yen, Japan rates go up. All of a sudden, they're selling off risk and they're selling US dollars back to yen. So what would that look like for the USD JPY? Well, this would roll over, right? Because if the yen, if you're selling dollars into this, right? This fraction is going to go up. JPY yen, the inverse of this, or this is going to go down, excuse me, because the denominator is getting bigger. JPY USD would, of course, go up. So this is, I know, a gross oversimplification here, but this is effectively the yen carry trade, what I've explained to you here. I know I probably glossed over some stuff that's important. It doesn't really matter because most of you have no business looking at this shit and trying to use it to make your decisions. A lot of people are going to jerk off over the fact that, oh my God, I told you the yen carry trade was fucking blowing up, blah, blah, blah. Japanese rates are blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, dude, just trade the chart, right? Like you got bigger fish to fry than worrying about fucking 2-year bond rates in fucking Japan and if the yen carry trade is unwinding. Especially when you're likely trading a fucking tiny, like there's people trading $10,000 portfolios worried about the yen carry trade blowing up. I promise you, you're wasting your time. Just focus on the chart you're trying to trade. If you're trying to trade crypto, look at Bitcoin right now. This is the only chart you really need to focus on. If you're trying to trade stocks, focus on the S&P. Once this thing gets bearish, once this thing starts to look like shit, then it's time to get the fuck out of Dodge. I'm pretty convinced that this is the fucking low here now, right? Now that we've had this break. So if this makes another leg higher, guess what? Sell all your shit if we get back below 6,500. That's your get out of fucking jail level, right? Similar to what I've said for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is able to get above here, right? This is your get the fuck out of crypto. If it gets back above there, at no point should it go back below 80K because once it goes back below 80K, it's probably going way lower. Same thing for equities here, right? Assuming that that's the low on the S&P and we have another leg higher, if and when we eventually come back down to this level, below here I think is fucking Mount Doom lava, into the volcano we go. All right, so that's all I got for now. It's Monday, it's early. We're gonna have another video on Wednesday, but there's the yen carry trade. I explained my short on Bitcoin and why I took it. Hopefully you can learn something from that. If you're the Haven, that was the trade we fucking cooked on to start the month, so let's go. Let's see what happens here in the short term. Our key level, in my opinion, remained the same. The yearly open, 98K. Let's see if this is a higher low and Bitcoin's got more juice. If we get like something like this, right? I do think we come and retest this 98 to 100K level, whether it's from right here or one more swipe below. I'm pretty confident that level gets tested, and then this might be our eject point, and then we're going to be pretty happy that we didn't puke at 80 because we could have gotten out at 100 or higher, right? Or maybe we get lucky and, you know, God willing, we get out at 105, 110, maybe a new all-time high. I don't know yet. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but we just need to take this day by day. We need to remain patient. The end is nigh. right? I think things resolve themselves here. It's going to be pretty obvious what the fuck's going to happen for the balance of 2026 within the next month or two here. I think December, early Jan, it's kaput after that. So we're just kind of hoping we get this end of year Santa rally. Anyways, I'll be here as always, guys, guiding you along with my thoughts because I'm not a financial advisor. This is just what the fuck I'm doing. As usual, if you want to support me, go to my website, links in the description. You can check out The Haven. That's where I'm posting my trade ideas, educational setups, the IMG indicator. We're running some sort of Black Friday sale. I posted that in Telegram. I think it's still live. Breakout, use code MAIN for a discount. All my ref links, anything else you want to support the boy, that's the best way to do it. All right, guys, love you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.